Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Renee. If you're new, welcome. If not, thanks for joining me once again. So in today's video, I have, well, it's different than a word from the Lord, right? But the Lord did wake me up this morning and he let me know that I'd be sharing my testimony. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. It's a testimony of being set apart, and essentially it's my life's testimony. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing today, and I just pray that it encourages whoever this is for. So I'm just going to hop right into my testimony. So growing up, I guess you could say I was always set apart. Or at least physically at first, growing up, I was the only. Where I'm from, it's a smaller city and there's not lots of black people. It's predominantly white and Hispanic. Especially growing up, it was a lot smaller. It's grown a lot now. But almost for about, I would say, half of my elementary school time, maybe more, I was in the dual language program. And so I learned English and Spanish and participated in like Mexican culture and learning about it, and in different like dances and Cinco de Mayo and different things in school that were a part of the program. And so within the school, it's like that part of it, that program, I was the only little black girl. And there was a black boy there as well. And so people knew me, of me. And at that part of elementary, I had more friends. I had more friends at that time. And so going to, when I was 10 years old is when I got saved. That's when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and my life changed forever. It was truly only the Lord's doing. It was truly only the Lord's doing. And I would say after that, I could definitely see a shift in my life and just the different dynamics of friendship and just how he had me set apart. There was definitely a shift in my life, and I feel like the course of my life, and the Lord was starting to do something. And so especially after once getting to middle school, I could really see that shift, at least looking back, right? I can see it. And so I want to mention that growing up, I felt misunderstood, and I think in many ways I was. I went through a lot internally and had many times where I would just be, bawling on the floor or in the bathroom crying or in my room and just feeling misunderstood. And I did have a smart mouth growing up at that point. And so there was, different things with family and, parents and different things like that. But there was more. There was more. Felt things deeply and have always been passionate. But before the Lord shifted my heart, I lacked empathy. But family didn't necessarily see that vulnerable and emotional side. It was more so that was when I was alone. And my mom, she loves to make jokes that about it, but it's true. The scripture where it talks about basically the Lord changing a stony heart to a heart of flesh. That's essentially what the Lord did for me. He took my heart of stone and he gave me a heart of flesh. And so I'm not who I used to be. I'm not who I used to be in many ways. And I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful. Again, oh my gosh, I've acted in ways I'm not proud of, but I thank the Lord for his forgiveness and him allowing those around me to forgive me as well. And so growing up, I also went through different things at home and different family struggles, that we had. We also had family that lived with us, various at various times growing up, and things were just kind of interesting for me growing up. I also want to mention that the enemy came after me at a very young age and tried to get me caught up in perversion in a variety of ways, with pornography, um, same-sex attraction, just watching certain things. Uh, just yeah, the enemy just tried to get me caught up in perversion at a very young age, and um, again, there's things that I'm not proud of, and that I see the enemy's plan, and I'm so grateful because I see the mighty hand of God and the Lord's protection over me from a very young age, And so when I was young, we went to church when I was like, we went to the same church around the ages of like when I was 5 and 6 to like 14. We went to the same church. And so I think it was around like the beginning of high school that we left that church. And so basically at home and at church was where I was around people who looked like me. But even at church, we were very active, very involved, but the Lord still had me set apart. So really, it's like everywhere that the Lord had me, that I was involved, maybe even leading. Because like I said, I was very involved around, and even, throughout my life, I I was doing things. I was doing announcements. I was helping out here, serving, in a variety of places, and even at school, very involved in different clubs and president of different clubs growing up. But even in those spaces, I was still set apart. It was like I had a purpose, I had a role to do, but socially, there wasn't that connection. And so it wasn't, that I was trying to be by myself. It was just always my reality, especially how the Lord has shaped me. I never cared to be a part of a crowd. I wasn't going to go along with something, go anywhere, do anything just because people were doing it. I had no cares for it. And also, I didn't care for certain conversations or topics. And I didn't find things funny that maybe others my age did. People maybe could have found me to be, by myself, or very serious, but that wasn't really it. I just didn't have interest in certain things. And also, it's like if the Lord, if it's not who the Lord has for me, it's not going to be, like, He's not going to allow me to be in that space. It's not for long, especially if I'm surrendered, but especially growing up, I didn't have that awareness then. But he still always kept me to himself. So in middle school, like later stages of middle school, I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit, but the Lord really wants me to highlight this aspect of being set apart. So that's what I'm going to do. So in later stages of middle school, I don't even want to call it this because I don't know, but y'all bear with me. In later stages, sorry. In later stages of middle school, I guess you could say I had a situationship, I guess is that what we can call it. But again, in middle school, I wasn't doing much. I was naive. I didn't even necessarily like the person. But maybe more so the attention. I think I liked the attention that the person gave me, even when I kind of knew I didn't like this person or even wasn't super attracted to the person. So that continued into high school. You can say on and off. It wasn't an actual relationship thing. But we continued to talk and um, until about sophomore year of high school. And then that was done. I was like, okay, like I know this is not who the Lord has for me. So there's no point in just continuing when I know that I kind of don't even really like this person. I more so just like the attention that they're giving me. And so I would just shut it down. And so at this point, we're in high school. I'm in high school. And I had a best friend. I think we started being friends like 7th or 8th grade, and that led up until my senior year of high school and until the Lord took me out of that. And I have that testimony here. It's my friendship, divine connections testimony. It's a part of that. And so if you've been set apart, especially when it comes to friendship, I would, if the Lord leads, I would definitely recommend you to watch that video. That's definitely a part of my life. I'm not going to go into all the detail here, but if that's a part of your story, your journey, and I believe that you can, find encouragement from it. And so I had a best friend at the time, and I also want to mention that I had really bad acne as a teenager. At a certain point, I was really insecure. I would look at myself in the mirror and cry. It got to that point. And there was a point where I thought I looked ugly. I had tried different things from birth control to help with acne to prescribed antibiotics, from the dermatologist to, which one of them I had a severe side effects, like a severe allergic reaction to it. We tried topical things, prescribed, also over the counter, and those didn't, provide lasting results. After using it, after you stop using it, it stopped working. And so then we got to the point with the dermatologist where we did Accutane, which is really harsh. And it's serious, and it's kind of like a last resort option. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like 2 large pills, I think every day for a certain period of time. I don't know if it was like a month straight that you took it. I don't really remember exactly. But you had to do, like pregnancy tests every so often because you don't want to get pregnant or be pregnant while taking it. You even have to do like a little quiz or exam and pass it, in order to continue on the process. And so I did 1 round of that, and it worked, but eventually the acne came back. And, I was trying everything, change the way I was eating, going a more natural route with, just everything, what I was putting in my body, on my body. Eventually we did another round, and I don't know if you can only do 2, but eventually, did a second round of Accutane. And it can be really harsh on the body, like internally. And so want to mention that. I want to mention that. And so back to high school, right? I had a best friend, like I said at the time, and my focuses were really school and tennis. There was a point where I there was a point where I liked, right? I feel like I liked someone, but I felt like who I liked wasn't who liked me. I think that's important to note as well. And so fast forward to senior year of high school, right? And again, the Lord had me share my friendship divine connection testimony. And so I'll link that in the cards, as well as I'll put it in the description. So you can know more about what happened my senior year of high school. And so fast forward to senior year, second semester, and I was alone. The Lord took me out of that friendship. He ended it, and I was already done with high school. I was over it. I feel like by my junior year of high school, I was like, I'm ready to get out of here. Like, I'm ready to go to college. Like, I was kind of over it. Um, I was ready to be out of there. But especially, how things happened senior year. And in high school, I didn't go to any dances, homecomings, prom, and I didn't have the desire to. I didn't have the desire to, especially senior year. I didn't have friends, and I wasn't going to be dancing in front of people anytime, like anyway. At that time, like I couldn't do that at the time. I wasn't going to do that. So there was no point. Even in high school, I was still kind of always the only, even in some of my classes, like the certain classes that I was in for the most part, and being on the tennis team. And then playing tennis in the area that I'm from and dealing with people, not thinking that I would be good because of the way that I looked or that they would be better than me. And, dealing with the racism that comes from that. So, yeah, I dealt with that. Especially in high school, later stages of high school. And so going into college, right? I hoped to have community. And again, I talk more about this in my Friendship Divine Connections testimony. But going to college, I hoped to have community. Second semester of my freshman year. So that was 2019. And it was, or like the beginning of 2019. And that was the hardest period of my life up until that point. And the Lord had me stay at the university I was at, that He planted me at, even though I didn't want to be there, even though I didn't have community there. But He gave me purpose, and He allowed me to provide space for others to have community, but I still didn't have it personally for myself, not in the way that I wanted. And in that time, that was when I can truly say our relationship began. That second semester, freshman year, that I had accepted Jesus at the age of 10. And there was a significant shift in my life after that. But this is when I can say we truly had relationship, where I knew He loved me and I knew Him as my Lord, my Savior, my one, my only, my best friend forever. He taught me how to hear and know His voice. There was so much that He did in that time and how our relationship grew. And looking back, with it being one of the most difficult times of my life, with so much that happened, just with family changes and so much, and being alone. But I knew I was never alone because He was always there right with me. And it was such a beautiful time. Such a beautiful time. Especially looking back on it, it was such a beautiful time. And so in college, I thought, going to college, I thought that maybe I would meet somebody, like at that point, I was 18, going into college. And I think, I thought I was, maybe I would meet who the Lord has for me, friends-wise and romantic relationship-wise. Because at that point, I hadn't been in a romantic relationship. And so I knew that I didn't want to just be in a relationship. I wanted to be with who the Lord had for me. And so freshman year, I thought that freshman year of college, I thought I liked somebody. Looking back on it, it was more so that I was just attracted to them, I think. But, I thank the Lord. So, eventually they reach out to me and we start talking, but it was not the Lord. But the Lord allowed me, and I think this was around sophomore year that they actually reached out to me, but the Lord allowed me to go through that to see that that person who I wanted, right, I thought I wanted, it wasn't who I wanted, and it wasn't what I wanted either. And it was kind of like, even though it was, you know, like someone who I liked, they also liked me. I think it's interesting because, like, coming from high school, I felt like who I liked didn't like me. And so, yeah, that was just a interesting thing that the Lord showed me and really protected me in that situation. And so it was like, it was just like, it was no. It was just like a no. The Lord revealed things, and that was done. Yeah, so at this point, I'm around 20 and 20 years old, and I think that I'm like, okay, like I think I want to be in a relationship. This is after that situation, as the Lord revealed to me. And I'm like, okay, I think I, want to be in a relationship, or at least see who's out there. And I want to mention that at this time, so this is like second semester of my sophomore year, and this is when the pandemic starts. This is when the pandemic started. And so I'm also feeling like, I want to be in a relationship, but also I already don't go anywhere. I'm not really around people. I don't really have that community of friends, like to where I would meet people. So I'm like, maybe I'll try dating apps and see what and let's see. And so, again, growing up, I was focused on academics, the clubs that I was involved in, sports, and just really being involved. And I wasn't the girl who thought about relationships growing up. Like, that just was not me. I wasn't the girl who thought about relationships and, being married one day. I think I thought that I would get married, but it wasn't like a dream of mine. I didn't, have all the stuff planned, and like it just wasn't my focus. It just really wasn't on my mind for the most part. And so, yeah, going back to, I'm now like 20, and I'm at this point where I'm like ready, or I feel like I'm ready, right, to be in a relationship. And I tried like a dating app, and I'm like, oh no, this is not it. This is not, no, this is not it. So I check out different ones to see like, okay, which ones are more, maybe like better for me, right? They kind of have less of a certain stigma or motive amongst the people. And so time goes by, and I'm kind of like on and off the dating apps throughout the years. And so like 2020, 2021, 2022, nothing ever really came of it. Like I talked to people, but nothing truly came of it. And so I would pray that, Lord, if this person is not who you have for me, please remove them. Make it not work out. And if this person is who you have for me, make it work and your will be done. And when I tell you, every single time, every time, the Lord would do it. The Lord would do it. And so, yeah, that's hilarious. The Lord is hilarious. And so there were times where I think I got caught up in like just the swiping or whatever it was. Maybe got impatient and essentially wasn't trusting the Lord. But I didn't know at the time that it was me not trusting the Lord until the Lord revealed that to me. And so, mind you, again, throughout these years, the Lord is growing our relationship. He's teaching me a lot and growing me in faith and growing me in my faith. And there came a time when the Lord gave me a promise. And he made it very clear. I hadn't experienced that before. I didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't know that he would speak to me and show me all of these things. I didn't know that it was a thing, that this would be my reality. This would be a part of our relationship, and how intimate it would be, and how he would share so many things with me and show me a lot of things about this promise. And so time went on, and eventually he stopped speaking to me about it in the way that he was. And so I'm going about life, and I had a lot of changes happen. The Lord moved me to a new city. I was adulting for the first time, got my first apartment. I started grad school. And now at that point, I didn't have a job because the Lord told me to leave the job that I was at. Got my first full-time job that I got, after graduating college. The Lord had me leave that job. And so now we're into 2023. The hardest, most difficult year of my life. Period. Again, till this point. And so one day the Lord had me watch a video, and Holy Spirit brought to my remembrance that it was after that video that the Lord was speaking to me and had me completely surrender the promise of marriage. Because at that point, it was a promise that he gave. It was very clear. There was so much evidence and so much that the Lord was doing and sharing, and it was so much. But I had to surrender it, completely give it to him, and not try to have my hand in it or try to make something happen on my own, and not limit the Lord. Because remember, I had gotten on the dating apps thinking that this was how maybe the Lord was going to do it, because I didn't see like any other options or way, just with how my Lord has set my life up, right? How my life was set up, and just trying to do something on my own that I shouldn't have been doing. And so at this point, he was just like, fully surrender. And eventually I did. And it wasn't long after that the Lord started speaking to me again about the promise of marriage in the way that he did before. And he came back, I feel like, even stronger and just shared and revealed so many things to me. And again, all this is new. I didn't know that the Lord would do this, that this would be my reality. And so the Lord is maneuvering me through these things that he's telling me and showing me, and even like certain feelings that I'm having where I'm just like, okay, is this okay? Like, the Lord is letting me know, like, I'm telling you and showing you all these things because I want to share all these things with you. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, because if he did it, that means that I needed it. And he wants me to know these things. And so he was teaching me how to steward over those things and pray and just a variety of different things. And so throughout this time, the Lord was establishing my contentment as well. He, sharing more. He's also sharing more about the assignments and the call that he has for my life. as well as growing me in the gifts that He's given me, as well as going through tests and trials and learning and growing in love and forgiveness and vulnerability and patience. The Lord carried me. Also, the Lord carried me through a disconnection of a divine connection, because divine connections are just that. They're connections that the Lord brings together for purpose and in His divine timing. And not all connections are forever. It's for a purpose and a set time. And that was difficult, especially with how my life has been set apart, right? How I've been set apart, and how, He has it set up where I only connect with those that He has for me. And so that was hard. And essentially it was like a breakup. And He led me through that in my life. It is truly quality over quantity. And I've been there where the quantity was just one, the ultimate one Himself. So He taught me to enjoy my own company throughout my life and not need anyone other than Him for validation, for acceptance and attention, and to have fun. That doesn't mean that you don't need people, right? It does mean that the Lord is your source and all in all. And so for being set apart, for me, sometimes it can feel heavy, especially when the Lord has me and many things are new and first, and breaking generational curses, and not having an example to look to that resembles my journey. But the Lord is the only one that truly understands and knows exactly how you feel. And that's something that He shared with me through another person, is that He has felt it. He's felt everything that I have felt, that I will ever feel, and how it's personal to me. And He knows the end from the beginning, and He has already been there with me. He's already been there with you. He knows it all. I feel like hopefully you all, followed along. I know it wasn't, all the way in chronological order and everything, but I truly pray that this encourages who it's for. That's all that the Lord has for me to share right now. And I pray that this encourages who it's for, and that you would just seek the Lord on your own journey. Each and every one of our journeys is different. And at the same time, I know that for me, being set apart, right, and my journey being unique to me, and not having people to share these things with, right, like all these different things that the Lord is doing and saying, or even the Lord not having me share certain things, and just having it be between me and Him. It can feel isolating, and sometimes the Lord brings people that you can kind of relate to in aspects of their testimony, or that are, maybe more similar to your journey, right? And that's a blessing. I know that when I was younger, being set apart, or just not understanding or knowing why, like, this is my reality, is difficult. Why I couldn't do certain things, or why I couldn't be a part of, just in the mix, or I didn't have a desire to. Just simply not having the desire, or why, certain things just wouldn't happen for me. But I thank the Lord, because my life is a testimony of His protection. Even when I didn't want it in certain ways. It's not, being set apart is not an easy life. It's not an easy road. And I understand that. And I wouldn't trade it. the Lord's grace, the Lord's mercy, the Lord's love, the Lord's protection. That is my life story. That is my testimony. And so I love y'all. And I pray that you know that Jesus loves you and he protects. He protects. And he's so good. He's so, so good. And the Lord wanting you to himself, protecting you in that way, you being set apart. It's so intentional. It's so intentional. It's his protection. It's for his purpose and his plan. And just know that in the Lord's divine timing, he does things. He shifts things. He brings things and people and places and things. Just remain surrendered. So that's all. And I love y'all. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.